There he is, the man of the hour. Hello, Ryan.
Hello, friends. Good to see you.
Ryan, I was just reminding people if you want to add this, so it will be on the recording for health, they should make sure they have a modium or that. Oops.
I think it's Paul moving around. We got to mute him.
Mess things up. I'm moving.
I can do all kinds of things to Paul. I could stop his video. Let's see.
So anyway, it's just to remind people to bring Imodium. Michael was saying he always travels with Pepto-Bismol, and I carry Pepto as well. It's in a tab form.
Tabs.
Yeah. Yeah, great advice. You know, I think anytime you're traveling internationally, your body responds in various ways, and it's just good to be prepared for those varied responses. So, yeah, that's good.
That's a nice way to put it.
That's
I was
good
also
advice.
going to say we always carry spare toilet paper with us too, just in case.
Yeah, yeah, sure. Yeah, good. All good ideas.
The best way to do that is like when you're coming to the end of the roll, take it off, squash it, not as much room in your luggage.
It must be 2 weeks before the trip because we are just down to the details, talking about toilet paper. It's it's important stuff. This is a good tip, especially from you all, Bill, Diane. You travel a lot, so those are really good tips. And yeah, some of the stuff I'm hoping we get to cover today, just as we kind of go along here. So
Okay, and Tolly was on, but we could hear her, but she couldn't hear us. So
okay, maybe she'll try again, or when we started talking about Imodium, she might have gotten off. I'm quite confident we're going to have zero fun on this trip together. Yeah.
I'm quite confident that Greg and I will see to it there will be fun.
Good. Thank you.
It's at your expense, Ryan.
Yeah, that's good. And
Marjorie at the beginning, she has to leave at 11:45 or 1:45 rather.
Great, no problem. There's Tally. Can you hear us now, Tally?
Hi, I can hear you now.
Oh,
yay!
Wow.
Good to have you on. Thanks for being on with us.
Sure.
There you go. Your volume, you raised it so we can hear you much better now. Thank you.
And you're coming to us all the way from Oregon City, right?
Yeah.
And there's John. Hi, John.
Hey, good morning or good afternoon. Hi.
Okay, Ryan, I'm turning it all back to you now. I told them that you just sent out a 4-page handout.
I did. I emailed you all something. It was an attempt to try and condense down all the different pieces of information that we've been sharing because we leave 2 weeks from tomorrow. So if you don't have a countdown, now's the time to start one and begin preparing. And we're really grateful to have Tally here. Tally has been behind the scenes with Dr. Bill and I for over a year now, working on this tour, and has done so much hard work on our behalf for putting just this incredible trip and all the details together. So welcome, Tally.
Thank you.
It's good to have you here with us. And maybe, Tally, would you just tell us a little bit about yourself and your story with Israel and your journey? And we won't make you share too much, but it'd be great to just give people a chance to know you a little bit.
Well, Oregon City Evangelical Church is my home congregation. I grew up in it. But in 2005, God told me very clearly to go to Israel. Is the sound okay? I'm hearing a strange...
I'm hearing an echo as well.
How about now?
How about now? Okay. Is
We're
everything
good?
I think we're good now. Okay. Anyway, I moved to Israel in 2005 as a minister under International Ministerial Fellowship, and I've been living there. I married an Israeli who is a believer in Yeshua, and eventually I started organizing tours for believers. Now, actually, we're getting involved with a school for Bible translators in Israel. So this is our last tour that I'm organizing. And we're putting all of our energy into the school after this. So.
Wonderful. Well, yeah, it's an honor to be your last tour. And yeah, so the plan today is just to kind of work through this document that I sent out. So again, if you have it and want to pull it up, you can. And I've just asked Tally to be on with us and to kind of provide perspective on these different areas. If you have specific questions along the way, you can ask them. I've muted you all, so you'll have to like raise your hand or something if you want to talk. If you just start talking, then you either have to, unmute yourself and start talking, or raise your hand and I'll unmute you. But this will give us a chance just to kind of walk down some detailed stuff. Tally, the itinerary that we have was really Tally's creation. We added a few things here and there, but it's just a phenomenal trip. And as I was thinking about it, really, we are covering the entire country of Israel in many ways. We're going from Tel Aviv on the west all the way down to Eilat, the very southern tip. We'll be at Jericho and the Dead Sea right there on the eastern border, and all the way up to Dan, which is very close to the northern border. So if you want a comprehensive trip of Israel, this is the one. And I know I don't have to pitch you on it anymore. But but just as a reminder, it's really kind of in three parts. I realized this the other day, that the first part is really kind of the desert and the Dead Sea area. And that will be probably the warmest part of our trip. And where things are kind of spread out the most, there'll be the most kind of travel in between, which will be nice. I think help us adjust to the country and adjust to the jet lag and just all those different things. Part two is Jerusalem and the areas surrounding Jerusalem, Bethlehem and those different places. And that will feel much more squished together, intense. Jerusalem's an international city with lots of history. And so that's actually a good place to put Jerusalem. And then the last third will be back up into the Galilee. It's a little more spread out. It feels more pristine. And we'll travel over to the northwest, with Megiddo and Caesarea and back down to Tel Aviv. So it was helpful for me to kind of think of it in those 3-day chunks. As I mentioned in the handout, we've really worked hard to put together a good itinerary, visit as many sites as possible without just completely wearing you out. But things can change. The order of things can change. Sometimes there's things that close unexpectedly. So, just kind of going into it, realize that this isn't a politician's travel schedule. Things could be altered or changed. If there are safety concerns in certain spots, we might avoid those spots. We don't anticipate that right now, but I think just, it's good to always, when you're traveling, go in with flexibility. So, Tally, I don't know if you want to add anything about the itinerary itself or anything I've shared so far.
For sure, the safety of the group is high priority, and we're not taking you to the Gaza Strip right now. I'm sorry for that.
It's okay.
We are keeping up to date on all of the security issues, and we're not taking you guys to any place that we consider a security risk. So the guide will continue to be keeping up to date on any kind of issues, and we'll make sure that you guys are always kept in a safe location. But all of these places you're going to are considered safe. So.
Right. Thanks. Can you tell us a little more about our guide, Sheila, Dr. Sheila?
She is She works with Israel College of the Bible. She lectures there. She's also a tour guide. She's selective about groups that she's taking because she has obviously a very big commitment to the Israel College of the Bible, but I told her about you guys, and she's excited to be your tour guide. And
Wonderful.
I'm
Awesome.
really excited that I got her because I think she's going to be a really good guide for you guys.
That's great. Thank you, Tally. So anybody have any questions just about the itinerary or kind of that first section there before we move on? Okay, Karen, welcome. Good to have you on. We're working through a document that I emailed out about an hour ago. And just feel free to ask questions along the way. I'm muting everybody unless they want to talk, then they can unmute themselves or raise their hand. All right. So during portions of our trip, especially in Jerusalem, we'll move kind of quickly from one place to the next, and it can get easy to I wouldn't say lose a person, but for a person to be temporarily misplaced. While that's not really a safety concern, it does tend to, it can slow the group down, and then that delay can affect other things. So one of the ideas, we don't have a super large group, there's 24 of us, but we are going to break you up into pods. And they'll kind of be assigned, and these pods aren't meant to create like small groups, or you can only hang out with the people in your pod, or all those things. It's not meant to divide the group, but it is a chance for me especially to be able to look at these 4 pod leaders and say, is everybody in your pod here? And they can say yes. So rather than me counting to 24 every time we go somewhere, I'll just look to those 4 pod leaders and say, we're good. And they'll look at the 6 that they've been assigned and make sure they're there, and then we'll move on. So that's kind of the extent of it. Again, it's not meant to say, well, we think you guys will be best friends by the end of the trip, so you have to hang out together whether you like each other or not. Also in the evenings, we'll debrief briefly. It'll be a good time at the end of the day after dinner to just debrief a little bit about the day, share some information for the next day. Some of you will want to go right up to your rooms and just have time to yourself, maybe go to sleep. Yeah. And so we're not doing long meetings in the evenings. If you want to, there'll be opportunities, I'm sure, to sit and chat with people. When we're in Jerusalem, there's a couple nights that lend themselves well. I'll take a group into the Old City if they want to go back into the Old City. But there's not going to be any really required meetings, in the evenings or anything like that. So I would say, Tally, maybe you can add to this. Most of the time we'll be done with our touring by 5 or 6 p.m. in the evening and back to the hotel for dinner. Is that a good approximate average?
Yeah, most of the time.
most of the time, right. So anybody have questions kind of about the day there? Mike, I see you raising your hand. Go ahead, buddy.
So, Tally, we know each other sort of from Oregon City. Good to see you again.
To see you.
For the debrief meetings, probably one of the things we should be ready to share, we don't like to share very often, is I'm hurting physically, because that's going to affect the movement of the group. We're gonna, we don't want to say people saying, "What's wrong with that guy? Why is he lazy? What's he going on?" But if we have someone we know that's injured or has other issues going on, is that something we want to be sharing at that group meeting at the end of the day?
Yeah, that's great. You can check in with me or Dr. Bill. Your pod leader can always be a gauge on that too. But yeah, we want to create a pace that obviously moves our itinerary along, but isn't so strenuous that it diminishes individuals' experience. So we'll do the best to manage that tension. Group and individual is always a tension to manage, never a problem to solve. But information is helpful, and it's okay to say, "Hey, I'm hurting. I just want you to be aware of that." So yeah, thanks, Michael. That's good. And those meeting debriefs, evening debriefs, are a great time to share that. So we did order group hats and visors, and so wearing them is completely optional to you if you don't like them. We ordered those, and those are free of charge as part of the trip cost. So we'll have those at the airport. Transportation, we're going to be traveling. This is kind of cool on a midi bus. So it's not the full size buses. It's a little smaller, which when you see the traffic, particularly in Jerusalem, you'll be excited about. But they are air conditioned. Our driver's a registered driver with a company in Israel. The bus has Wi-Fi. Is that right, Tally?
Yeah.
Yeah, the bus will have Wi-Fi, and most of the places we stay at, we'll have Wi-Fi.
All of the places that you stay at should have Wi-Fi.
Okay, good. This is not a developing nation. Israel is a high-tech, country. So, and then we did confirm that water bottles will be available on the bus for $1. So especially those first 4 days, when you've just traveled for 2 days, you're going to be dehydrated. It'll be 95, maybe even 100. So I think most of the water from the hotels is going to be drinkable, but the water bottles
All the water at the hotels will be drinkable.
Yeah. So you can bring a water bottle along if you want to be able to carry your own water, but there'll also be water available on the bus for $1. So, and that's cash. I don't think he has a swiper thing. So, anything to add about the transportation, Tally, that you want us to know?
No. Always, it's polite to clean up after yourself. If you have garbage or whatever, just make sure you use the garbage in the front. But yeah.
And the driver stays on site when we stop. So if we get off to a site and we want to leave our
Right.
backpack on the bus, it's locked and it's safe, correct?
Right, correct.
Okay. Do you all have any questions about transportation? Okay. Wow. You guys are a good group. Okay.
I mentioned about Michael said something about people hurting. I've had some tour groups come with brand new walking shoes that they haven't even broken in yet, and that's not a good idea. You need to break in your walking shoes before you come to Israel.
Good. That's a good piece of information. Yeah. Yeah, because there will be walking, and
Yes.
and sometimes there'll be options as far as people can stay behind or they can be transported somewhere else. So there's flexibility in some of those sites as far as you can opt out of some of those experiences if you want to. So if you do have mobility concerns, we'll work to accommodate those, and that's great. That's okay. The Tally has worked hard to put together a study guide for us, and so there'll be some notes and things to use at our site. I would definitely encourage you, if you're a journaler, bring a journal along. Our guide will have a wealth of knowledge that you'll want to remember somehow, because after the 9th site that day, you'll get the rocks you're looking at crisscrossed a little bit in your mind. So, but we will have some resources available for you, as well as maps when we get there on site. Again, if you do some pre-studying, if you like to do that, and learn about these sites, learn about the history, but we'll also have quick reference guides for you while you're there. So yeah, thanks again, Tally, for putting that together, and we'll have those available for you when we see you at whatever airport we meet you at. Do you have any tips for people, Tally, about just processing information or absorbing information, just as you've worked with tour groups? Any common themes or threads along that line?
I would recommend every day after you've come back to the hotel, just going over the photos that you have and the notes that you have, and just sort of, making notes for yourself to remember, okay, that photo was taken at that place. Because by the time you get back to Israel, to America, you're not going to remember what the photo is of. So if you can, rename the photo, the name of the location or something, that would be helpful for you later when you're trying to show them to your friends and tell them what you saw.
Great. Dr. Bill, did you have something to add there? Nope. Okay. That's good advice, Tally. Thank you. Any questions about the study guide, map, information retention, that type of thing? Okay, good. We may we may create. We certainly can create a maybe a Dropbox or a place where if people want to upload photos that they're willing to share with the group into a certain location, we can do that. If I'm a horrible picture taker and I don't like taking them really in general, and my phone doesn't really take them well, so I'd love to steal all your photos, and if you're willing to share them, as also when we do our blog, it'd be a great place. So we'll work on that, and you can always choose to not upload those things as well if you want to, but that's an idea moving forward. Food, breakfast and dinner. So on the flights, the longer flights, we have 2 long flights there and back. There's meals provided on those flights. When we're in country, breakfast and dinner are provided in the hotels. They're buffet style. There's always lots of options, lots of food, really, really good food everywhere we go. There's just good food at the hotels, and so that's included in the price of the tour. We will stop for lunch each day and have options available, but the cost of that is not in your tour. So the guide, it'll just depend on where we are as far as the cost of the options available, but probably $15 is a good average to think about for lunch. Tally, is that
Yeah.
fairly accurate? Yeah.
Yes.
And again, if you're only a 2 meal a day person, eat a big breakfast, eat a big dinner, and pack along some protein bars for lunch. But if you're like me and you get a little hangry every 2 hours, you just have to be aware of that. So you'll be walking a lot more, and so you'll just be putting out a lot of energy. But yeah, so that's kind of info. I think we talked a little bit last time. They won't, I think Superintendent Randy told us, they won't stop you if you pack a bunch of food from breakfast for lunch, but it's not really the most appropriate thing to do. Tally, I don't know if you have any comments about that. Like if I want to just take a bunch of rolls from breakfast with me for lunch, is that inappropriate to do or rude or?
I think, grabbing an apple on your way out is okay. But if you're loading up, it's...
Okay. Yeah. Good. You're our in-country expert, so that you gave us a good read on that. You're going to have a chance to swim in 5 different bodies of water, so that's pretty cool. The Red Sea at the Gulf of Aqaba there in Eilat, the Dead Sea, Jordan River, the Sea of Galilee, the Mediterranean Sea. So I would encourage you to bring a modest swimsuit and bring some sandals or water shoes just for when we're in the water. Yeah, the Dead Sea. I think they usually only allow you to be in the Dead Sea for about 15 minutes or so. Is that right, Tally?
You can be in there longer. I would warn people that have any heart issues to not go into the Dead Sea. It's just enjoy it by looking at it. If you happen to swallow some Dead Sea water and you have a heart issue, you could die. Because the minerals in the Dead Sea affect the balance in your system. And it's if you already have a sensitive system, it's not a wise thing to get in the water, and then maybe you're splashing about and you gulp some water. Not good.
Yeah.
Okay. So please do be aware of that. But otherwise, spending lots of time in the Dead Sea is perfectly fine. Just don't swallow the water.
And don't get it in your eyes. We'll show you. Yeah, we'll show you when we're there how to walk backwards into the water, because otherwise your feet will get kicked out from under you and you'll fall face first into the water. It's the weirdest feeling in the world. You have never experienced anything like it. You can't not float in the Dead Sea. And so we had a guy on our trip. Yeah,
straight up and not touch the water, not touch the ground.
It's cool. So I saw 2 hands raised. Margie, did you still have a question?
We obviously, if we're going swimming, need to bring towels too.
Yeah.
And
Unless you want to air dry.
yeah. And all I was going to say before you came on, Ryan, Sam shared he's going in to get his pacemaker replaced tomorrow. So he asked us to be praying for him about that. But also that's just Tully's comment about heart issues. It's just a good reminder. Sam, probably you don't want to do the Dead Sea.
Uh,
Did you have anything you wanted to add to that, Sam?
Uh, can you hear me this
Yes.
time? Okay. Well, I am very disappointed. But anyway, I'll take care of myself. I do have some questions as you go on, Ryan, now. Can you hear me, Ryan?
You said you have some questions as we go along.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Why don't you flag them for us if they're in an area where we talk about, and then if we didn't
I
get to
have.
anything, we can come to them at the end. Okay.
Okay. Good.
All right. Great.
I think, I understand his disappointment. Maybe, if he's putting his legs in, it's fine, but getting all the way in to the point where he's floating, if he loses balance and gets himself in a position where he is swallowing a little water, this is really dangerous. So I would recommend just, maybe putting his legs in, but not getting to a point where he would risk losing his balance.
Great. Thank you, Tally. Yeah, no, you're the expert. That's why you're here. Welcome, Caleb. Good to have you with us. And we're just working through this document that hopefully you have in your email. And we're going through some of those things. Souvenirs and shopping. We will have time to do some shopping on our tour. If this is one of the perks of the way we're doing it, if you travel with the major tour companies, they take you to certain spots and they're expensive. And sometimes you spend more time at the store there than you'd prefer. So we're going to be able to take you to some spots where the local guides and we've determined are fair prices. They're authentic items. US dollars are good. Shekels are good. Debit cards are accepted in most areas. Just a word of advice, again, general travel advice, tell your bank you're going to be in Israel. And so if you do use a card of some kind, they don't shut your transaction down. So Tally, I don't know if you want to add anything about just souvenirs and shopping and money.
I would again mention, like I mentioned to you earlier, I do not use my credit card in any location that's not a establishment and that's not in the Jewish part of Israel. Like if I'm going to Bethlehem, I do not use my credit card, and it's not a prejudice. It's just experience. If I go into the old city, into the Muslim quarter, and buy something, I don't use my credit card.
Great. So having US dollars or even shekels on hand just for the souvenir shopping would be wise.
Right. You can use your credit card at like the Garden Tomb store. At Megiddo store, but I wouldn't use it at just any shop.
Great. Okay. Questions about shopping? We'll do our best to say, hey, that item that you see right there, you won't find that anywhere else. But that'll actually be pretty few and far between. You'll begin to recognize the tourist items and, but again, Dr. Bill and I, our guide, will do the best we can to kind of give you information, and then you can decide to do what you will with your own money. Do keep in mind that you have to bring everything you buy back with you. You might want to read up on some of the customs, most of the tourist stuff, you're not going to have any issues. So just a quick tip. I actually spoke with a college student here in Corvallis who had just gotten back from Israel last week, and he had a great time. They felt safe the entire time. The weather was incredible. Great trip. He went down Hezekiah's Tunnel, which is an area in Jerusalem in the Old City, a tunnel that was built 2,000 years ago that we'll get a chance to walk down if you want to. I'm 6'6", and he said there's some places where I'll have to bend down, but other than that, you know, it was navigable. And he said the water, it ebbs and flows, but it can come up to your knees or so. But one thing he did mention was he had a headlamp with him, and he was really glad that he did, or at least a flashlight. So I thought that was a good piece of advice. You know, you could use your phones, but again, it's water, and so if you drop it, if you bring a flashlight along with you or a headlamp, that'll be a place that you can use it. If you are claustrophobic or you don't want to walk in the water, don't want to do the tunnel, you can bypass that. So, do you have any other info about Hezekiah's tunnel, Tally, that you'd want to add?
Yes, there are lockers if you want to, you have your phone with you and you think, oh, what about my phone? You put it in the locker. I definitely don't recommend taking your phone into Hezekiah's tunnel because you can lose your balance and then drop it. And that's
Right.
not good.
Okay, good advice. So we'll draw straws and one person can bring their phone along for a picture. Any questions about Hezekiah's tunnel? Or again, I think here I recommend water shoes. It's just a good thing to bring along so you have an option of getting in the water. Paul, go ahead.
Well, not so much on that, but I'm wondering, would it be good to get some of our cell phones numbers passed around? In particular, maybe it'd be good to have yours, Ryan, in case some of us are doing other legs of the trip where we can get in contact with you. That come through?
Yes, that's great, Paul. I can give you my number. I actually wrote the Israeli phone that I have here in this document. I wrote that number, but then I can also give you all, my cell. And then I have your numbers from the documents that you guys filled out just with the general info. So, communication be good, and having access to those numbers is a great thing. So I'll get that information sent out to you guys. Good.
Ryan?
Yeah.
And my number is always located on my signature block, and use a cell phone. I have free texting wherever we travel, so you can get a hold of me that way, and I'll respond to the text. And Ryan's got the international phone, but I've got texting and I get email. So when we're overseas, no problem.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Bill. There were enough of you that showed interest in, wanting to stop at Qasar El Yehud and be baptized there in the Jordan River. So we're going to do that. There's baptism gowns available for purchase or rental there, but it doesn't sound like it's required for baptism. There's changing rooms.
No.
So we will take some time for those of you that want to affirm your baptism there and do that. I think I sent a picture at one point. I thought of the Jordan River as I would as an Oregonian, like one of the rivers here in Oregon. It's just beautiful and clear. It is beautiful, but it's not clear. So, it's safe to be in. It just looks different than you would think maybe the Jordan River. And we'll actually see the Jordan River at a couple different points along the way, and it will look different. But down there where you'll be baptized, it will be browner. It's run longer down the stream. But it's a more likely historical location near the baptism of Jesus than up in the Galilee. So, Tally, you want to add anything about the Jordan River and Qasar El Yehud?
We've been to Qasar El Yehud with when we saw different groups there, and it's interesting. Some people were smearing the mud of the river on their face, and it's not the mud of the Jordan that's good for your skin. It's actually the mud of the Dead Sea. I don't recommend that. But yes, the river is quite muddy, so be prepared for that. You can feel like connected to. Oh, now I just drew a blank for the name of the guy who had leprosy and
Name him.
Don't.
Yeah.
Name it.
Yeah.
I mean, you can identify with him when you dunk in that river because it doesn't look clean. It's just muddy.
Good.
Anyway.
Good. And don't smear mud on your face without checking with us. Sounds like that's a good rule for living. Good. Religious sites, dress at religious sites. We've sent out a lot of different things, and so we wanted to clarify a few things. And Tally, it's really great to have you on for this. But at religious sites, women can generally wear pants or skirts that cover the knees, shirts that fully cover the shoulders and chest. Scarves on women's heads are not required for the Temple Mount. So that's a misprint from your document. Is that right, Tally?
That's correct. You don't need to cover your head.
Okay.
The men will need to be wearing a kippah, but the women, there was actually a riot in the Western Wall when some women brought prayer shawls and covered their heads with a prayer shawl. It's considered copying the men and dressing like a man.
Okay.
But if you're wearing just a regular scarf that looks like a womanly scarf, they don't, if you're wearing it coming into the Western Wall and then you wear it going to pray, then it doesn't look like you're putting on a prayer shawl, and that's fine. But it's not considered necessary or needed for a woman to cover her head when she prays.
Okay.
When we go to the Temple Mount, though, are we going to the Temple Mount?
Yes.
Yes.
So, but there, can they get by without covering their head?
Yes, they can get by without covering their head.
Okay, that's good.
Thank you.
So in general, women, knees covered, shoulders covered, pants are okay. And our guide will help us when we get to these sites. She'll kind of flag for us, hey, this is a site where it would be good to do this. And we'll help you as well if there are some more specifics. But that's kind of the good general policy. Sam, looks like you have a question. Go ahead.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
We would not be wearing shorts, but we'd have to know at the beginning of the day. So you'll alert us so we won't wear shorts, correct?
Yeah, the days that we'll go into some of these religious sites will be in Jerusalem. And so you have pants for those days would be good. I have pants that can zip off into shorts. I'm really excited about that. So I can go back and forth. But yeah, most of the sites, do they have modesty rules at Timnah at the tabernacle there?
No, but you will have modesty rules up in the Galilee.
Right. So Jerusalem and Galilee, there'll be modesty rules there for those sites. So yeah, we'll kind of let you know each day, Sam, if we'll be in some of those areas. Go ahead, Dr. Bill.
Sam, one of the things that misses for all of you, the lightweight hiking pants. I mean, if you don't have the zip-offs like Ryan is mentioning, I'm going to just plan to wear lightweight hiking pants the whole time. My legs are not used to being bare, so people here in our living area say I have chicken legs.
Good.
White.
Spare us, Rabbi. Yes. Thank you. Yep. Okay, good. So men, yeah, shorts and tank tops are not good. I wouldn't recommend tank tops at all because you're just gonna get burned. So don't do that to yourself. But shorts, we'll kind of let you know which days we're going to religious sites. Any final words or clarifications on that, Tally?
I think you're good.
Okay. We will have a blog, and it's listed there, and I'll put it in a couple other places. But each day our family can check in with us. Go ahead, Robin, I see you.
Just when we were reading something, there was something about long sleeve shirts. Are we going to need long sleeve shirts with us?
Tally, for the religious sites, Robin?
Yeah.
Men for long sleeve shirts.
Go ahead, Tally. Do you have clarification on that?
As long as your shoulders are well covered, I don't see any problem in any of the sites.
Yeah,
Okay.
Robin, if you wear like a muscle shirt to show off your biceps like that, people might frown on that. But
Oh, okay.
They don't have that.
Polly's at home.
Yes, Karen, I see you. Go ahead.
So for women, capris that cover the knees are acceptable?
Yes.
Okay,
Good.
thank you.
Wonderful. So the blog, again, we'll have a blog where folks can check it. There's a place to subscribe if they want an email. You all that have said you'll take turns on that, I'll be contacting you, as well as the devotionals, be contacting you. And, we'll work with Dr. Sheila on kind of the when and where, but we'll try to at least have the day in the general area planned out ahead of time so you have some time to prepare. So some of it will be timing, do we have time at this site to do a devotional? And some of those things. So Margie, go ahead.
I guess you'll have to put Robin and I on that list
To do a blog?
to do a devotional.
Do a devotional. Okay, I will. Great, that'd be wonderful.
Sure.
Yeah, I think that's part of your requirement for
Part of our requirement, yeah.
Nice. Okay. We'll do lots. We'll make use of this. There's lots of different. I have some bags that I think need to be carried, and yeah.
And if Doug has to do one too.
Okay. Yeah. Do you have a question, Doug? Or are you just offering to carry my bag for me? Just carry my bag. Good. Notice I didn't unmute him to answer that on his own. Let's see. Let me unmute you.
So we might have to wait a couple days before you're transferred. So
Can you unmute yourself, Doug? Are you wanting to say anything?
Right there.
Oh, there we go. Yep.
Yeah, I'm carrying your bag, but I also need to do devotion too.
Great. I'll sign you up for both. Okay, moving along. Tally gave me a bunch of adapters. And so if you have not bought an adapter yet, you can have one of these. These should all work, right, Tally?
They all work. I do
Yeah.
need them back at the end of the tour, so keep track of them.
I will. Any other words about adapters or anything that we should know? Tally?
Please be aware that you bring your curling iron and plug it into a regular. The power is different there. It's a lot stronger. Your curling iron will burn your hair off like it did for my mother right before my wedding.
Oh. That happened to me too. That's what if you wondered where all this went. That's what happened. Last time I was in Israel, I tried to curl my hair. Yeah.
So be aware of the power difference with your phones and with your computers. They're usually able to handle the higher power.
Great. Okay. Good advice. I think Rob and Margie were just waving goodbye. They had to go, so
okay.
Off they went.
So by the way, those adapters are just for the plug, not for the power. Like it won't change the strength of the power.
So if you have a device that needs a different power setting, you'd need a different adapter. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, you'd need a heavier adapter. And some of the hotels will probably have a different plug that will say a different voltage, a lower voltage for Americans, but most of the places I don't think will have that different voltage. So just leave your curling iron at home, your hair dryer.
Good.
They'll have some. They won't have curling irons, but they should have hair dryers.
Okay. Dr. Bill, I see you, but I want to say goodbye to Rob and Margie because I can tell you guys need to go. So
Talk to you guys later.
yeah, okay. We'll see you at Portland Airport. Oh, they're gone. All right. Go ahead, Dr. Bill.
I just in line with what Tali was saying, if anybody needs what's called a power plug or a generator actually that reconverts its converter plug, we have a couple. We don't use them anymore because we check to make sure our electrical items do the variable voltage like saying. But if you need them before you purchase them because they're more expensive, we would be glad to loan them out if anybody needs something to convert their voltage.
Right. So contact Dr. Bill if you're interested in that. Emergency phone contact. Again, my phone number, the emergency phone I'll have with me at all times is on there. Our tour guide's number is also on there. please just give those, if you give those to your family, just let them know to only contact those in an emergency. If for some reason you do need to contact home, you know, we have minutes for you to do that. Probably not every night for an hour, but again, if I get a call from the U.S. there, it'd be nice if that was just an emergency and I could pick that up. But I know family, it's nice to have additional ways to contact us. So feel free to hand those out. Just communicate that it's an emergency. And if you have to define for them what an emergency is, maybe just don't give them the number at all. Flight info, Dr. Bill, will you say a little bit about flight info? We have some stuff down at the bottom of this document that gives our flight numbers, and sometimes we're waiting for a couple things just as far as seat assignment. Dr. Bill, do you have any more info to add on that?
No more info. I'm supposed to get the material. The reason we're held up on giving you your seat assignments and things is that the baby, Thomas's baby, United was very slow in doing the ticket for the baby. And when they did the ticket for the baby, they had to give Thomas and his wife new seat assignments so they're with the baby. And so that kind of reflected in changes. Hopefully Bonnie will give me all that material today and then I will get it back to you. Ryan's put clearly in the document, you're allowed one checked bag, needs to weigh less than 50 pounds, 62 inches combined dimensions. And if you have a second bag, it's going to be $100 if you're checking it. One carry-on item that can fit under the seat, or it's a typical carry-on thing, and one personal item. Okay.
Good. And that's per person. So a couple, you can bring one checked bag, you know, for each of you.
Now, Michael, for you, it's a little different. You need to check because we bought your tickets separately. So you already have numbers you can plug in if you haven't. That is reservation numbers. So you should be able to go ahead and take care of all of that. Okay? And Paul, I think for your trip from Billings to San Francisco, it's the same thing. You got a separate ID number until you get to San Francisco.
Great. And we'll give you the info, you know, that as we get it. Karen, did you have a question?
Yeah, so it's one carry-on item, it can be the small suitcase that fits up into the overhead bin, correct? And then one personal item that fits under the seat in front of you.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
Good.
Thank you.
Yeah, Paul.
Sorry, Ryan. Got to run too.
Okay, great. No, any questions you have before you go, Paul?
No, thanks for all the effort putting this together and communicating what we need to know. I appreciate it.
Right, and we're going to see you in San Francisco.
All right, sounds good.
Okay.
Thanks, guys.
Shalom. Passports. If you're looking for a passport holder, it's great to have one. And Tally, maybe you can say a little more about this with the RFID blocking ability because people can scan it. Safes are available in your rooms at the Jerusalem Tiberias hotels. It's also recommended that you make 2 copies of your passport, leave one at home, bring one with you, and that can help at the embassy if you are unable to locate your passport for whatever reason. Tally, do you have any corrections or information about that?
I think you cover it good. Make sure that your passport is on you, not in a bag that could be separated from you. That's happened where somebody has distracted a person with a conversation, and then another person came along behind and took the bag.
Good. So they have those. You can find them on Amazon. You can wear a belt or a necklace. I think that's a really helpful thing to have on you. Again, especially in more condensed areas like Jerusalem, where there will be crowds. It's just, I think, important, especially there, to have that on you, or to leave it in the safe.
Yeah, you can leave it in the
at the hotel.
I would recommend that, and then just have a copy with you.
Yeah, good idea. Thank you. Go ahead again, Dr. Bill. I'm trying to unmute you.
Should
There you
be-
go.
Yeah. Brian, one of the things I've forgotten to mention, Diana and I always travel with vests. We have a couple of different ones, and these are lightweight vests because on the plane, it's nice to have stuff close by and when you're traveling as well. So if you're into that kind of thing, a vest can work really well for you.
Great. Good reminder. Yeah, good. So some good options there, good information. Lodging reminder, again, the first 4 nights of our trip we'll be spent in different locations, and they are more economical locations, or more economical lodging, but that facilitates a more comprehensive itinerary. Basically, cheaper lodging gets us more days in country. But when you hear the word hostel, the image of European hostels is not what Israeli hostels are like. Tally, you want to add a little more there?
It's very clean. It's very modern. You have your own bathroom in your room, and you just don't look forward to a jacuzzi at night.
That's good. That's good. So that's good. All the lodging on the trips in the 3-star range, sufficient for our travels. So again, the first 4 days we're moving from site to site to site. We'll be at the same hotel in Jerusalem, the same hotel in Tiberias. Those are listed in our itinerary, so you can always do the research you want. But is there laundry services in the hotels in Jerusalem and Tiberias? Do you know, like that we would pay for, obviously, but do they have that available, Tally?
Yes.
Yeah. Yes, Dr. Bill?
And I unmuted Diana's just reminding me, and Tali, I forgot to ask you this. Most of the time overseas, they don't do wash rags, what we call washcloths.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you want a washcloth, you should bring your own washcloth if you're used to that.
Good.
Yeah, good point.
Thank you. Questions about the hotels/hostels? They're at really cool locations, so it's just going to be a neat thing. The one in Jerusalem is close enough to where you can either do, I think, a 20-25 minute walk down to the old city, or taxi or rail line. And again, we'll work with the folks at the desk there, and they can tell us the modes of transportation and where to access the old city in Jerusalem and those types of things. So we'll have some opportunities to do that, I think. Just a note on the traditional sites. I think this is helpful going into it, just to be aware of, especially the Church of the Holy Sepulchre and Church of the Nativity, just from previous trips and people that have come along. If you're not used to Orthodox decorations or icons, sites like this, especially because they're so meaningful to our faith, the crucifixion site, the birth of Jesus, people can walk away disappointed. You imagine in your head the experience you're going to have there, and instead you feel like you're in a line at Disneyland. And so, or you are a good Protestant and low church, and it doesn't feel like that at all. So it's just good to know there can be crowds, there can be lines. What's important about this to remember is that these churches have protected this site for us for thousands of years, and we wouldn't be able to access them if they hadn't done the work. The other good thing to know about the Church of the Nativity, I think, Tally, you could correct me, but it's in the process of being renovated. And so not only do you go in and experience a lot of the Eastern Orthodox or Armenian or Catholic icons and decorations, but you'll also see scaffolding. And I remember when we went in, the first time we went into the tomb of Jesus, it's very quiet and a few people go in at a time, and you're kind of a little bit disoriented. And so you go in there after waiting in line, you go in there and you bend down and you touch the stone slab and you get ready to pray and have this amazing experience. And the priest on the side hits the side of the door, and that's your signal to go. So it's just kind of like, oh, okay, well, that was it. And again, they're trying to get thousands of people through every day and all these things. So it makes sense, but it can be a little off-putting. And I just wanted to kind of flag that for you ahead of time to be aware of, and it will give you a more realistic expectation of what you might experience there. So, Tally, you have anything you want to add to that?
I don't think so. I think You covered it well. You're going there to see the history. You're not going there to have a quiet time with the Lord there.
That's good. That's good. Yeah. Hopefully you'll have other places for quiet times too. And you may be
Yes.
surprised. You may be surprised where things hit you that you didn't expect, or it could be a cumulative effect, or you could, just be so tired that you don't have any emotional experience at all, or you could be overly emotional. A lot of that depends on you and your personality and makeup. But so again, just international travel, pilgrimages like this, leave all expectations at the door and be flexible and open to when and where God would choose to speak to you. Any questions about some of those traditional sites? Okay. Safety, I'm sure your loved ones are starting to ask, hey, I saw the news and what's going on over there, and are you going to be safe? The current status of travel to Israel from the U.S. State Department is to exercise increased caution. Interestingly enough, it's also the status of Italy and Jamaica and a lot of other countries. We will monitor the status of safety before and during our trip. You can go to travel.state.gov. You can actually register your passport number with the embassy saying when you're going to be there, and that's great. Again, there may be a site or two that, depending on what's going on, we might skip because of safety concerns. But we'll continue to monitor those along the way. Tally, do you have any recommendations just about safety or how to help loved ones manage their thoughts about safety while on the trip?
Tell them not to watch the news. I mean, it's like if I go to Illinois and somebody's watching the news about a shooting in some borough in Chicago, are you okay? Are you okay? It's a different part. It's not related to you. And the terrorists are specifically instructed to target Israeli soldiers and religious Jews. So as long as you're not wearing an army outfit, carrying a gun, or wearing a religious Jewish outfit, I think that you're fine. They do want tourists because the Palestinians are also making a living off of that. So they're not targeting you.
All right. Okay. Anybody have questions about safety or information about safety? Okay. Okay. Last thing, if you are, I think everybody's still on, is other than Tally, is meeting us at the Portland airport. Our flight leaves at 5:55. We'd like to ask you to be there no later than 3 o'clock on that day, and to meet outside the United, to meet in front of the United check-in area, the service desk, by 3 p.m. So, we all have individual paces when we travel. Some of us like to get places early. Some of us like to get places late. Again, we're going to ask you to meet us in the middle, and we'll travel as a group as best as we can. And so why not start right at the airport? So 3 p.m. at PDX, our flight's scheduled to leave at 5:55 p.m. We'll send out additional ticket info to you as we get it. And again, the flight numbers for your loved ones are there listed. If you do some research on jet lag and travel information, we actually have great flights. I know that that second leg is long, but it's actually better than having to do a third leg. So it's a really nice. Tally gave great advice, and the Honorable Dr. Bill worked really hard on those flights for us. And so it's a great travel itinerary. The flights are far enough apart to where if there is some sort of a minor delay, we should still be able to make connecting flights and have a little time to stretch our legs in between. So we have a couple people, one person meeting us in San Francisco, a couple people meeting us in Tel Aviv, but the majority of us will be traveling from PDX. So again, 3 p.m. on May 1st there. at the airport is where we'll begin our journey. So this is kind of the place for questions that didn't get covered before we kind of wrap up our time.
So Ryan, let me make a comment. Or John, did you have a question? No. Just want you to note that because there's been some slight changes, which you should have received a notice from me in January, late January about this. Nothing's changed since then, but we have about a 4-hour layover in Newark coming back, and you're probably going to be rather tired. So we just want to encourage you to pace yourself. We'll stay together as a group so people can sleep and stuff can still be, or rest, and your stuff will be protected. But just want you to be aware of that. Sorry about that, but it's the way it is.
And actually,
Portland, Oregon.
Yeah, and a 4-hour window in Newark is actually okay, Dr. Bill, because we'll have to go through international customs coming into Newark. The domestic flights and the international flights in Newark are in completely different sides of the airport. So I actually, the first time in Israel, we had to run and we left our group because we wanted to get home to our kids, and they all missed the flight and we made it. So, we kind of, anyways, that's actually a good window. So that will, again, give us time. So
give us plenty. Thank you.
Yeah. Tally, do you have any other just additional info? And then I'd love to maybe see if you'd pray for us in Hebrew, if you're willing to do that to finish our time. But any other additional info or anything that you would have for us?
I can't think of anything. I know you're going to have a great time. So if you need vitamins or melatonin to help you on your trip, then definitely get those ahead of time.
Yeah.
Access when we're in country, will we have access to stores or supplies or things like that?
You'll have access to stores, but melatonin is not available in Israel without a prescription. So any melatonin you need to take with you. Also, I've never seen Tylenol PM in Israel.
Okay.
So those are two things that I use when I travel to try to help me sleep at the right times.
Yeah.
So I would recommend that, but you can't buy them in Israel.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Talia, on behalf of the group, I want to thank you for all your hard work over this year. We've sent a lot of emails back and forth, and just you've done a lot of work, and in the midst of all the other work you do and family you have, and all of those things. And so I just want to say, thank you for all of that, and we really appreciate your work with this. So,
amen. Amen.
Yeah. I think I say this on every Zoom, but as you make your travel preparations, don't forget to prepare your heart and ask God to prepare your spirit to engage with His Spirit as we go on this journey. It is not a vacation, definitely won't feel like a vacation, and it's more than a trip. It's a pilgrimage, and so you will experience things on this trip that you won't experience anywhere else, anytime else in your life. And I'm excited for you. It's kind of like taking your best friend to your favorite movie that they've never seen. I'm excited to almost to watch you as much as I am to see these places again. But I know that it will forever change your life and your faith and your ministry. And so I'm really glad that we're doing this together. So. Any final words or anything before Tally prays for us?
So, Brian, let me just interrupt. Sam, you indicated you might have questions. Have all your questions been answered?
Yes, they have.
Oh,
okay.
Good.
Yeah. Ryan, this is very helpful. Good job.
Thank you. Good. Well, if things come up between now and then, obviously, send an email or give a phone call if you'd rather do that. And Dr. Bill and I are available. Tali, would you do us the honor of praying for us in Hebrew and then maybe translate just a little afterwards so we so we know what you prayed?
Sure.
Thank you.
אבא בשמיים, אנחנו מודים לך על מה שאתה עושה בשביל הקבוצה הזאת. תדריך אותם, תשמור עליהם, תעזור לשילה להדריך אותם בצורה שאתה רוצה, ותדבר איתם, תפגוש איתם, תעשה משהו מיוחד בשבילהם כשהם בארץ. אנחנו מתרגשים על מה שאתה תעשה עבורם בשם ישוע המשיח. אמן.
Amen. Amen.
Lord, I just thank you for this group. I thank you for what you're about to do for them. I pray, Lord, that you guide them and you protect them and you guide Sheila, the guide, to guide as you would want her, and that you would speak to each person and meet with them in a special way. In the name of Yeshua. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Thank you. All right, friends, here we go. We'll see you in 2 weeks at the Portland Airport. Shalom, lahitraot, and let the adventure begin.
This year in Jerusalem.
This year in Jerusalem. Amen. Thank you, Tali, again for being with us and for all your hard work. All right, friends.
Sure.
Yep, we'll see you later. Shalom. Hitraot.